G'day friends and fans, welcome to Dave Talk Stuff. You've often heard the statement throughout your life, you may not even realise it, no matter what happens, this seems to be a very true statement. No matter how much things change, they always remain the same. We used to tell each other, particularly when I was a boy and I'm over 50, and a lot of people over 50 remember this. Even your ski teachers used to tell you never to trust a liar, especially a hypocrite. Our teachers used to tell us wisdoms, like a stitch in time. We used to put on plays. Shows used to have moral lessons. They'd straight up tell you, after school specials was moral lessons for children. American television used to have standards. What changed wasn't just Walter Cronkite who lied to you by omission, who held his own personal grievances against the Vietnam War and lied to your face about the state of the war. And you think the War Department would turn around and just say something? But they were embarrassed. They didn't know what to do. Public trust was lost almost overnight. People didn't like what they saw. People didn't know or understand war until they saw it live on TV and were disgusted. They were disgusted by the propaganda. But worse, when after the war, they really were disgusted with themselves because they'd lied. And they created a culture of lying. But it's not new. We've always had politicians. You can go back to the Roman Empire and great speeches about integrity, or the liberals and in ancient Greece. No matter how much they preached integrity. Now you may say, well, men have held power for centuries. But the thing is, women have always raised men of power to be liars, hypocrites, to say one thing, to say what's popular, but to do another. No matter how much things change, they say the same. Behind every good man is a powerful woman. That's always been a true fact. The King of Greece, I forget his name, told his son famously to never marry a woman unless she was at least as powerful as his mother. I think this was actually the advice given from Philip to Alexander, who actually did apparently marry more than once. It's just every wife he's married was poisoned by his mistress to miscarry. Sounds interesting, doesn't it? The treachery of history is full of acts of betrayal by women. Believed now commonly, the reason why Alexander's grave was hidden was he was scarred or marked by some disease that he picked up in India. And then, in fact, he was buried in a stone coffin at the behest of the, I forget the name of them, the Persians who treated him. Now, they treated him with respect, even though he was a dying, defeated man. They sort of accepted that as their king. History, however, has become more and more corrupt over time, but the remnants of history are there still. Enough truths to know that regret is nothing new. What the fate of Alexander's wives, they came to truly regret what they had done as they watched within a few years their empire fall around them, and they went from queen to pauper. Rich people, when they become paupers, are not well received or well liked or well treated. Many a queen throughout history has ended up in a brothel, although sometimes often at the hands of the Romans. That's beside the point. But at some point, Roman Empire lost its faith in women. And it took 1,000 years towards near the end to put an end to it. Christianity put an end to many a practice. But the Romans had lost respect for women. And this was an empire founded on the original principles that a beautiful woman was a treasure to behold, and the idea of the worship, of beauty, the preservation of beauty, the admiration for beauty, even the treatment and respect for beauty started in ancient Greece and continued with Rome, was actually a liberal thing. The gynocentric world is liberalism, and liberalism is the gynocentric world. Feminism, liberalism, communism, they are all just brands of collectivism. Particularly liberalism, however, and feminism are gynocentric. We live in a gynocentric world. Before you all tune completely out, this is all relevant to the changes that people perceive that have happened in society. And I am trying to open your eyes and tell you that this has always been. And that the change, for the better that we want, yes, are glimpses that we've had in history, but they've never been the norm in history. Women have always sought relationships with men. They've regretted the relationship or the sexual encounter. And then we've always had divorce. We've always had women wanting to leave relationships. Even you go back to the Bible, they tell you to, if your wife is bad, to send her away. You let her go. That a bad wife is bone cancer. All right, without further ado, let's see what her opinion is on why divorce is something that women regret. Now, if you've ever been divorced, you'll understand what I mean. It's emotionally devastating. Even though you know it's coming, right? Even though you the biggest part is the financial consequences, but always a women's standards, right, of living go down. Always. Now, like I said yesterday, women are devastated by divorce. They're devastated by feminism. They are ruined by feminism. Often after a divorce, that's when it happens. They always think it's not going to be them. Now, yes, there are a few exceptions where women do manage to trade up. But often that is short-lived. Now, take control of your life. Right? There was a period for the Great Depression. And those who lived through it as children clung to their relationships, clung to their marriages. So why did they watched their grandparents through the Depression cling to their relationship, to their marriage, support each other, and through that they supported each other. But unfortunately what happened is World War II broke people, and after the war you saw for a while grandparents who held their marriage together, but secretly grandma was whispering to their daughter to run, because there was suddenly an economic boom and single individual people were booming, whereas married people seem to be stagnant and sticking and falling behind. But the thing is, that false perception of the boom was just government printed money. And then you say, well, why does the government always print money? Because the economic boom of printing money funded a mining boom that yielded the second largest period of gold mining in the history of the world, in which lots of resources around the world were mined in areas that were previously never even considered to mine, particularly in the Pacific. Lots of easy-to-grab minerals throughout the world were thrust into action, and the building boom that came lasted over a decade. But of course, once the boom is over, that's when the bust hit. All the single people suddenly, wanting to keep their lifestyles, demanded higher wages, executives pumped up their wages. Everybody just wanted more. And so what was a brief period of people clinging together to cooperatively, more and more people thought, oh no, now I'm single, so there came the rise of the 2-income households. And so, can you believe the average is 27%? Yeah, worldwide. Believe it or not, in poorer countries, women don't have as far to fall as rich countries. So the highest fall in living standards in the world is the United States. Going from married to single is the largest fall of living standards in the United States. People who are married tend to live better lives. But women, because they can never be satisfied. If a woman can never be satisfied, particularly when they saw, they saw their grandparents on the 60s, all getting divorces, all getting better jobs, their lifestyles going up, then why don't they have it? Because it's not the same economy. We no longer we are living through, however, the largest mining period in the world, and gold is higher than ever. But the cost of government, right? Don't forget, resources predominantly are sold by governments to industry. We have more things to buy. Lots of things use gold. The price of gold is high, but it's spread out over everything from your lamp through to your refrigerator that has copper wire to your computers has an infinitesimal amount of gold in it. Gold is spread out over copper wire, electronics. So you have now, it's the same with wealth, spread out. It's the same. Believe it or not, when 60% of the population was married, the boom was spread out over a very large middle class. The man who worked brought home to his non-working wife, but the thing is, those women who were not working in their youth and raised 3 children and then went on to work, lived better, longer lives. But of course, what happened? Well, they were losing their husbands early. A lot of them, 45 to 50, were dying in larger numbers, particularly throughout the 80s. And the women, well, they had to create a new economic boom. Now, of course, lawyers not wanting to cash in on society, they helped foment these myths that you're better off under divorce. Now, more and more women are waking up to this reality that is a lie. That, in fact, it's always been the opposite. You've always had a better life married. You've always had a better life married. Even women in an abusive relationship is so rare, and that's the problem. When things are rare and stand out, the media will highlight it. The media have always highlighted, and that highlighting creates paranoia and fear. See, the thing is, and one of the reasons why women get divorced is because women are emotionally insecure, physically, and mentally, they seek the comfort, right? They need the physical comfort. They need the psychological comfort from a strong man. So why do they undermine strong men? Because again, feminism has derived from collectivism, just like Marxism and liberalism, where the few want to control the many. And they have figured out how to prey on women's insecurities. And so no matter how much women regret divorce, you've only seen the divorce rate get worse. There was a brief respite in the last decade where divorce was going down, and that's because marriage rates are going down. But if you take the statistics about the whole of the population, things haven't changed. So going into that, I do understand, and a lot of people are going to understand, that women may regret divorce more. But the point is, let's see their side of the story first.
And regret divorce more than men. Financially speaking, women's lives get worse after the divorce, while men's get better. The standard of living for women goes down an average of 27%, while the standard of living for men goes up 10%. So you can see why women may feel that their lives get worse after divorce, because their standards of living go down while their ex-husband's standard of living goes up.
This is where they get the pay rate and all the other things, all the other myths from. This is the origin of the gender gap myth, the pay gap myth, right? Women just do not understand their role in the world, and men are not strong enough because we are constantly betraying each other. So when I say brothers, who walk away or lie flat or quietly check out or simply don't want to get married, understand this. It's always been like this. Many women experience regret, but that doesn't mean they change their ways. In fact, they've never changed their ways. Women have always been like this. The church, after the collapse of the Roman Empire, the church cracked down on all degeneracy. The church used to be very forgiving and very understanding. And when people failed, the church would help them pick them up, change the error of their ways. Often the church took in gays and lesbians and turned them into fruitful labour, and to explain away their condition or their situation, particularly people who have been so damaged psychologically by living excessively, not just sexually, but, gluttony, etc. They would become monks and nuns or laymen in the church. And unfortunately, this has led to the point now where, after centuries of doing this, the church is just full of non-believers who are just there using the church as welfare or a place to hide or a sanctuary from their past. It's why they're going after home churches in some countries now. Because real Christianity is not what the church is. The church is an institution above all for the institution. So they're institutionalized. But women always talk about personal growth. Yeah, too little too late. They never pass on their wisdom to... How many female influencers do you see other than the handful on TikTok? Right? The manosphere is growing. the femosphere is not. Women complain about career sacrifices for marriage, staying home with the children, or relocating for their spouse's job. Nothing's ever done for them. Right, it's like white people who complain about having no culture. The problem is they're not. You don't learn culture in a textbook. So, except for you don't learn your own culture in a textbook, you live it. Classical music, almost all music. What if I told you rap, derived from rhapsody, was started by 17th century noblemen reading poetry like Byron to the harpsichord of Bach and Mozart and others. A lot of your classical musicians were considered rebels in the day. Although some were geniuses like Mozart, but they didn't have a real word or didn't call them geniuses. No, actually, Mozart they did. But some didn't get their genius recognised until well after their death. Others were celebrated in their life outside their country, like Handel, who was regularly invited to London. Women always get jealous of these things, though, when a man succeeds. Worse, when a man succeeds without them. And see, she answered it for us. Why are men walking away? Because our lives get better. We are instantly not dragged down, taken care of, losing valuable time to someone who doesn't respect you, who doesn't respect your time, who doesn't respect themselves or their time, and are obsessed with every pleasure, every distraction. But never the distractions you like. You like video games? She'll come to hate them. You like art, music. Whatever you like, she'll eventually come to dislike. Because women are and have always been obsessed with being jealous, being petty. Now you get the two types of women in this world. The successful and the unsuccessful. Everything else falls into line under that. The successful lift a man up, follow a man's dreams, cheer on his life, wait for his eventual death rather than doing everything they can to prolong his life, to make his life as comfortable as they can. In sickness, they will take care of him. In his old age, they will still potter around the garden. They will while he sleeps on the couch. Those women are like hen's teeth and are valued and valuable. And they go on to inherit great wealth. And the smart ones and the real geniuses amongst them turn that wealth into generational wealth through their children and grandchildren. And that is why wealth is rare, because good women are rare. The unsuccessful women are the majority, who fritter away their lives, who will buy the most expensive dress, the most expensive handbag. And you guys say, oh, but the rich women do that. They don't. No, you don't understand. Okay? That's why there's few billionaires. That's why there's a lot of millionaires and they never become billionaires. Their wealth stagnates. And eventually, after generations, this is why some great houses after generations have collapsed. The Vanderbilts, Gloria, boom, fiddled away, not hundreds. Right, no, sorry. Gloria Vanderbilt didn't spend millions. She spent not tens of millions. She spent hundreds of millions on her fashion career. She literally left her son, Anderson Cooper, with a debt. What a wonderful mother. You look it up, the Vanderbilt fortune. Yeah. This is what happens when you do not respect the rights of man. So yes, women do regret, but men don't. You notice that? Men don't anymore. Men do not regret divorce anymore. You used to see the idea of women celebrating divorce and running off with younger men. They're lining up, and I've seen this. I've seen it Japan, Korea, China. I've seen it around the world. Older women lining up at cigar clubs, upper end establishments, and there some places now you can look and these bars, these clubs, they're empty, they're gone. Nightclubs that were once filled with young men and women are no longer, because the young men realise the young women are not interested in young men, but interested in just how many young men they can collect and fleece. And it's always been the same. Every society is experiencing, and you may tell me, oh, no, not is them. Cope and seed. Cope and seed. So, as emotionally damaging as divorce is, you'll see many men throughout history have always seen their married life as a burden. And they'll sit down and put their hand on their son's shoulder and say, son, one day you're going to get married. You're going to understand great pain, great sorrow, and only moments of joy. And the thing is, when a father looks at his son, there is no regret. That's why women don't want to give us a son. That's why they want us to die off. Because they're just so envious of that father-son relationship. But when there is a father-daughter relationship, those turn toxic. The daughter doesn't become a better daughter. She becomes a more entitled, spoilt child. So there is that. So is it any wonder men are walking away, lying flat, quietly checking out, going to the hills, so to speak, where they don't like the corporate world, and the government world, even the military, academia, every large institution's the same. It's a feminist collective. The high-heeled pit bulls are crying. But I do not hear men. I do not hear the thunderous roar of men running to their rescue. The days of the saving the princess, they're saying, no, you chose the dragon, you chose the bear, you chose Tyrone, you chose to go off to Jamaica to get a butt rub. You own it. You paid the toll now. You suffer the consequences of your actions. A lot of divorced men are held their head high, and even though they may be in a smaller house, they may be not driving the family car, and so many men are not regretting for a moment. They're feeling that they put their divorce decree up on the wall and say, "This is my Declaration of Independence." So thank you for watching. Please like, share and subscribe. Please support the channel. I really appreciate each and every one of you. Chin up. And like I said, I'm Red Pill Man. I believe that we are in the time of a great counter-revolution against every collective. every government, every system, even Islam. Unlike you, Tucker Carlson and Candace Owens, who are desperate tools of the system. As with every other, you may now hear many large creators, including Mr. Beast, who come out complaining about their view counts going down. I'm not going to tell you why. I think you'll all figure out why soon enough. And you'll all soon enough start to hear more and more truths come out. Isn't it glorious time we live in, where we see actually some accountability to the liars, cheats and frauds who were not only protected by the system, but held up and funded by the system to pull the wool over our eyes. But the more we resist feminism, look at it. It is blowing back on Mark Hamill and others. The woke may be in a death frog, but I'm warning you now, women have always been like this. It's just whether or not we seize the pendulum and pull it back to the centre and hold it steady and say, no more Mr. Nice Guy. We're the ones in charge now. We're not going to tolerate any of you fanatics. Maybe then we'll see change. But until that day, we're just going to see how it goes. But I'd like you to support the channel. I would like to make a living. No, not really. Just a little bit of help, just to pay for some art, get some book covers for my next couple of books. Nothing too dramatic, nothing too fantastic, because I'm creating an RPG. May not be your cup of tea, that's fine. But the majority of the money I get from my art, from my books, just goes into making more art, funding more art, funding more books. I write my own books, but the covers and the art I fund. The RPG is the same. I write RPG articles. I sell RPG articles. I have a Patreon for that. It all goes back into that. Okay? So this is not about me making a living. This is about funding my writing and funding my RPG and funding the art that is necessary to that end. So I appreciate each and every one of you. See you in the next video, and bye for now.